Good evening. Hope everyone's doing well. My name's Steve. I have a blog at christiananarchist.com. I haven't posted there in a couple weeks. I had a pretty busy couple of weeks, but started doing these streams every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Mostly for my own sanity, to let the world know that there is at least one additional sane person out there. And let me check to make sure my stream's going all right. Yep, we're good. So I wanted to cover today briefly an article that was written about the WEF, or the World Economic Forum. And the gist of the article is talking about how there are conspiracy theories with the World Economic Forum, and I have a couple clips to show what they're referring to and that sort of thing. But before we get into that, I like to cover things that I find funny or interesting, or what people are talking about throughout the last week. And let's get into it. So there was a brutal, and I mean brutal, police killing, and I believe this was in Memphis, and by these 5 gentlemen here, well, maybe not gentlemen, cops here. And CNN goes ahead and writes this piece: opinion, the police who killed Tyre Nichols, I don't know if that's how you say it, were black, but they still may have been driven by racism. Come on. It's like, what? Everything is racism to these folks, you know? Everything is racism. And if you think this is just one kook, oh, this is Van Jones, of course. If you just think, oh, this is just one kook at CNN. No, there's another article from The Independent pointing out that the officers involved in Nichols' death were black is a dangerous distraction. What is going on over here? Like, can they just not evaluate on a case-by-case basis what's going on? I'm not saying that there isn't racism. Yeah, very well may be the case. But everything is racism, right? Why can't we just look at the facts in this case and go from there? I mean, it sounds like they're getting charged with murder, which, you know, is the right thing to do. I mean, the video is just, it's brutal. And I'm not quite sure what was going on with them. It seems like they were taking out their aggression. It seems like there's more to the story than like they were wronged or something. I don't exactly know, but it's a mess. Policing in America is a mess. But I think very little of it has to do with racism. By the way, if you hear a humming noise, I apologize about that. I have another little hobby over here. I'm 3D printing, and I'm trying TPU for the first time, and I'm trying to print a little case for my iPhone, and that's what that noise is, and so far it's going pretty good. But that is another little hobby that kind of takes up some of my time. Excuse me. So, moving on. You may have seen this story in the news, and there's this girl who was working out in a gym, and, you know, of course they're recording videos to post on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, right? And I'm just going to play a short bit of it. This is actually a video that I saw on Twitter that had tons of views by Joey Swole. Anyways, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but you'll get the gist of it.
This is how to not approach girls at the gym.
I hate this. I hate when they're sweet.
Oh, yeah, she's like, there's weirdos, they get me so uncomfortable. And literally the guy,
Feral.
look at him.
Like fucking feral.
Oh, I forgot she swore. But basically this guy just glanced over like 1 or 2 times and gets all upset. Turns out this chick has an OnlyFans account, and she's like, "Oh, I hate being objectified," and then she has an OnlyFans account. It's like, and then same thing here.
Watch
You know,
this guy try move to me at the gym.
he tries to
Checks
move at me at the
absolutely
gym.
nothing on his phone. Looks over at me being busy sorting my wrist straps.
And
These fucking straps taking
oh
up.
my gosh, with the swearing. But basically, this guy goes over and asks if she's using the piece of equipment right behind her, which is a completely reasonable and respectful thing to do in a gym. And she's over here like, "Oh, these guys, they're just objectifying me and this, that, and the other thing." You know, and this guy who breaks down the video, he's like, he goes, "I don't know the name of that machine. Are you using it?" He's like, "No." And he's like, "Cool," and then moves on with his day.
I want to share my perspective on this video. This gentleman walks up, he's looking for a machine to use, and he asks you, "Are you using the machine behind you?" Why does he do this? Well, maybe some of your stuff is close to that machine. You know, we carry these big bags, these water jugs, these belts, all this stuff. Maybe some of it is close to the machine, and he just wants to be kind and polite. Also, it looks like he might be new to the gym. He looks lost, confused. He looks like he might be a little bit intimidated. It's even to the point where you make fun of him for not knowing the name of the machine. And let me ask you this. If he were to jump on a machine that you were using and he didn't ask you and you caught that on film, would you post that to make fun of him? Something to think about. You know, it's really sad that you took this interaction and you had to post it and you had to shame this man, to make him out to be a gym creep, that he's trying to hit on you just for attention and likes. The gym is a shared space. People are going to interact with you. This is harmless.
Of course.
This man asks you a question, you say no, and he moves on. This video never needs to be posted. You need to do better. Mind your own business.
Exactly. You know. Now, if I wanted to be fair and objective, I mean, to these girls, they're, you know, from their standpoint, you know, I'm sure people are watching their content, so of course they're going to have their phones out and stuff, and this is a cheap way to generate content, and people are watching it, right? So they have an incentive to do this and to dress provocatively at the gym and try to garner that attention, because that's what gets views and this sort of thing. So it's just a mess. But I saw this meme. Gyms in 2023. I'm just trying to work out. OMG, you creep. This is going on my TikTok. That made me laugh. All right, anyways, moving on. What else do we got? Okay, James O'Keefe, Project Veritas is in the news. Man, they had a video on with what's going on at Pfizer and it had millions of views. So I previously already spoke about my objections to how Project Veritas kind of gets these undercover videos, and most of them are when they're on a date. And I don't know, there's just something about it. It's just kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit. But on the flip side, you're like, man, these people are totally evil, right? And if you watch that video, I mean, the guy's admitting how there's a revolving door between the regulatory agencies and Big Pharma, and they know that it screws over everyday Americans, and they're willingly participating in it. So in some ways, you're like, yeah, you know, these people are evil and stuff. Never mind if they were actually doing the stuff he talked about with mutating the viruses and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they did. But the guy flipped out when James O'Keefe confronted him, and being libertarian showed this video. It's an old SNL skit, and it had me dying laughing.
What? You son of a bitch. You no good damn
Chris Farley is the best. This was a skit when they were doing an undercover commercial with coffee or something, you know. Anyways, really funny skit. But basically, the guy did react like this. I mean, this is kind of how, he kind of blew a gasket. But anyways, getting back to what I'm saying, I mean, when these people are on dates and you know, if you're especially on a first date or whatever, and you're trying to impress the person you're sitting across from, I would venture to say a lot of people, if not the majority, I'm not going to say they lie, or maybe they, some of them do lie, I'm sure, or exaggerate their importance and influence with their profession or in the company they're working for and this kind of thing. So it's hard to know exactly if what that guy was saying is true. You know, because on the flip side, he'll never come out and say these things publicly, right? And I saw this fact check, in which we all know how these fact checks go. But it says, does Project Veritas video show Pfizer is mutating COVID? And I was like, oh boy, here we go with this fact check. Running cover for Pfizer, right? And so they actually, this is Newsweek, they actually acknowledged that the video took place. And because I went on CNN and MSNBC's homepage like a day or two ago and just tried to find if they were talking about this video, couldn't find anything. It was crazy. So it's good to see that they're actually somewhat addressing it. And they're saying, hey, a hugely viral video purportedly shows a senior Pfizer employee talking about COVID-19 experiments, etc., etc. So I flew down to the bottom of the article, and I was surprised. I thought for sure this was going to say false. It actually says unverified. I got to say, I was shocked by this. I mean, this is not the kind of fact check we normally get. And in this case, I actually agree with them. I think this fact check they're right on the money. Because as of right now, we have no clue if what this guy was saying is actually true. For the exact reason, I mean, you know, he very well could have been lying. In fact, when he was confronted, the first thing he said was, I was just lying to impress my date. That very well may be the case, right? So, if we had real journalism, someone would try to find the answer to this, but we all know that these journalists for these large organizations, they get their funding from Big Pharma, so they have no desire to get to the bottom of this, right? And even if they did, they would never be allowed to air what they found. I mean, that is just never going to happen. So, in any case, that's where it stands with that. Those are my 2 cents on the whole Project Veritas thing. Would it shock me if Pfizer was doing some shady stuff? No. In fact, you know, if you take a step back, Pfizer just made billions of dollars. I'm sure it is their most successful drug of all time, you know, this COVID vaccine, and then the boosters and another booster and all this kind of stuff. They're making so much money with the full backing of the CDC and FDA, just working hand in glove with them. They're making money hand over fist. So, you know, if you had no morals and you wanted to maximize your profit, they would be stupid not to try to mutate this thing to get another vaccine created for it. I mean, honestly, I mean, that's how these people think. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if that were the case. If it is true, those people belong in jail. And because that is absolutely insane. All right, that's enough about that. Let's see. What else do we got? Oh, Paul Pelosi. So, Nancy Pelosi's husband, months ago, had a very strange, and I'm sure you guys have heard this, very strange story that came out, said he was attacked by some guy with a hammer, got hit in the head in his own home. And they didn't release any footage, and it was all kind of murky, right? Well, the body camera from the cops just got released, and I might not play the whole thing, but these cops kind of stroll up, go to his house, and knock on the door. He turns away.
Yeah. Like it said. 2620, right? No, 2640. Yeah, it literally said that.
And someone opened the door.
What's going
It was
on?
hard to tell who opened the door, but so here's Paul Pelosi, here's the attacker. They're kind of wrestling over a hammer. He's got a drink in his other hand. And
Everything's good. Hi. Drop the hammer.
and so then they were kind of like smiling. They were both kind of smiling and just standing there, and it's very strange because if this guy really thought his life was in danger, or he was going to get harmed, I mean, wouldn't he have just ran out the door the minute these cops are here? And he doesn't do that. No, this guy may be drunk. He may have been trying to calm this guy down because it sounds like he was in his house for a while. And maybe he just assumed this guy wasn't going to be dumb enough to attack him right in front of the cops. Well, it turns out that's exactly what this guy did. So it's really awful. So basically, he's like, put the hammer down. And it looks like he's still, look at it. It looks like he's still laughing right here, still smiling. It's very bizarre. And then he rips the hammer away and bop, hits him on the head, knocks him down. The cops come in and tackle him, and he's laying there in a pool of blood. I mean, it's pretty rough. But the circumstances around this, I mean, this answers a lot of questions. And I don't know why they didn't just release this video from the get-go, because there was all sorts of conspiracy theories going on. They released the 911 call, which is another very odd call. And the whole situation still has a lot of unanswered questions, in my opinion. But I will say, this guy's an absolute lunatic, this attacker. Who attacks someone with a hammer, hits him in the head in front of two cops? Dead nuts, right? So this guy's clearly out of his mind. Apparently broken his home. So that's all I'll say about that. I mean, I kind of wish that they would. And by the way, how does Nancy Pelosi's third in line to be the president of the United States, and someone can just stroll in their house, break a window, and hop in, and there's no security anywhere? I mean, they have so much security for the president, it's insane. And for the third most powerful person in the world, zero security. Something's up with this, but all right, that's enough about that. All right, let's talk about the World Economic Forum. As we know, they have met this past week. I don't know if that's still going on, but in Davos. And I've seen a couple of the clips coming out of there and stuff. And I came across this article, and it had me cracking up. As elites arrive in Davos, conspiracy theories thrive online. The World Economic Forum's annual meeting, which will draw some of the world's wealthiest and most influential figures to the Swiss mountain town of Davos this week, has increasingly become a target for bizarre claims from a growing chorus of commentators, I think is what it's saying. So let's check out this article. When some of the world's wealthiest and most influential figures gathered at the WEF's annual meeting last year, Sessions on climate change drew high-level discussions on topics such as carbon financing and sustainable food systems. But an entirely different narrative played out on the internet, where social media users claimed leaders wanted to force the population to eat insects instead of meat in the name of saving the environment. Now, where would they get a crazy conspiracy theory like that from? Oh! Bill Gates. Bill Gates wants you to avoid eating beef and switch to synthetic meat to fight climate change. I literally found this with one Google search. This is not a secret. It's not a conspiracy theory. They just come out right in the open and say this. And this was in the Q&A part of this article, or at least maybe it was a different article, but they had a Q&A, like a transcript of an interview they did with Bill Gates. And the question was, do you think plant-based and lab-grown meats could be the full solution to the protein problem globally, even in poor nations? Or do you think it's going to be some fraction because of the things you're talking about, the cultural love of a hamburger and the way livestock is so central to economies around the world? So the first part of his answer says, for Africa and other poor countries, we'll have to use animal genetics to dramatically raise the amount of beef per emissions for them. Weirdly, the U.S. livestock, because they're so productive, the emissions per pound of beef are dramatically less than emissions per pound in Africa. Alright, that would make sense because we're pretty efficient. And as part of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's work, we're taking the benefit of the African livestock, which means they can survive in heat, crossing in the monstrous productivity both on the meat side and the milk side of the elite U.S. beef lines. Alright. So no, I don't think the poorest 80 countries will be eating synthetic meat. I do think all rich countries should move to 100% synthetic beef. You can get used to the taste difference, and the claim is they're just going to make it taste even better over time. Eventually, that green premium is modest enough that you can sort of change the behavior of people or use regulation to totally shift the demand. What? So he's basically talking about banning eating beef, forcing it through government mandates, outlawing hamburgers, right? Insane. Now, in case you want to say, oh no, there's another part. So for the meat in the middle income in other countries, and in middle income and above countries, I do think it's possible. But it's one of those ones where, wow, you have to track it every year and see the politics are challenging. There are all these bills that say it's got to be called basically lab garbage to be sold. They don't want us to use the beef label. Yeah, because it's not beef. You can't call something beef if it's not beef. Especially if it has absolutely nothing to do with beef. Seriously, this is what Bill Gates is saying. Now, in case you say Bill Gates, he's not the World Economic Forum. Well, he's listed on their page right here. Has a little profile page and everything right on the World Economic Forum's website. I mean, this guy is intertwined like crazy with the WEF. Oh, and look at this. I came across a video from the World Economic Forum specifically about eating bugs. I'm going to play this without sound because it has this music going on. Farmed insects are not just food for livestock and fish. We can eat them too. Insects are becoming a trend. The Western diet has to kind of shift and change. Oh, did you see that? This guy threw he threw I don't know what that is, a cockroach or larva or something in this trying to make a fancy looking sushi or something. And then you have this clown. Yeah, so it says the Western diet has to kind of shift and change. And most importantly, it's natural, it's normal, and it's the way we have to feed the future. What? It is not natural and is not normal. I mean, at least in the United States of America, just straight trying to gaslight you, saying it's totally normal to be eating insects. It's insane. More than 2 billion people already eat insects regularly. Well, not me. Not anyone I know. Not willingly. No one in the U.S. Yeah, sure. If someone else in another country wants to eat insects, go for it. We're facing big global challenges, and people don't believe that they can make a change. But you really, really can, because you making a change is the only change you can really make. What? By the way, I thought if we eat foods from another country, that's like cultural appropriation or something. So I don't want to be offensive to these other countries and, culturally appropriate their food. I'm joking, by the way, but this is how they think. When it times is by 9 billion people, it makes a fundamental difference to the way we live in this planet. It's our planet. We can choose to eat sustainably. Oh gosh, what are they trying to show? They're trying to make this sound appetizing? They show these freaking cockroaches and grasshoppers or whatever these are. Oh my goodness. Do you believe this? Look at this. This is the World Economic Forum. I didn't put this video together. They did. So this is not a conspiracy theory. This article is garbage. Oh, look at this. Oh. Anyways, let's continue on with this conspiracy theory article. The annual event in the Swiss ski resort town of Davos, which opens Monday, has increasingly become a target of bizarre claims, growing from a chorus of commentators who believe the forum involves a group of elites manipulating global events for their own benefit. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yes. Experts say what was once a conspiracy theory found in the internet's underbelly has now hit the mainstream. Okay. The meetings draw heads of state, business executives, cultural trendsetters, and representatives from international organizations to the Lux mountain town. I mean, that sentence alone should set off alarm bells. Red flags are going up. You have the merger of corporate and governmental powers all meeting. It goes on. Though it's always unclear how much concrete action will emerge, the meeting is slated to take on pressing global issues from climate change and economic uncertainty to geopolitical instability and public health. Hundreds of public sessions are planned, but the 4-day conference, it's only 4 days, it must be over by now, is also known for secretive backroom meetings and deal-making by business leaders. So they're admitting it. This gap between what's shown to the public and what happens behind closed doors makes the meeting a flashpoint for misinformation. First off, this isn't a sentence. Makes the meeting a flashpoint for misinformation. How is it misinformation if it's a secret meeting? You don't even know what they're meeting about. I mean, of course they're making deals. So the conspiracy theory is that there's a forum involves a group of elites. Well, you just admit that they're a group of elites, heads of state, business executives. So that part's true. Manipulating global events for their own benefit. And then right down here, it says that they're known for secretive backroom meetings and deal making. You just confirmed the conspiracy theory in this same article. So thanks for the confirmation, because that is exactly what's going on. It's insane. It goes on. Theories about influential global leaders are not new, but scrutiny of the forum and its chairman, Klaus Schwab, intensified in 2020 in the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. That year, the theme of the annual meeting was the Great Reset. The initiative envisioned sweeping changes to how societies and economies would work to recover from the pandemic and build a more sustainable future. Now, in increasingly mainstream quarters of the internet and on conservative talk shows, the Great Reset has become shorthand for what skeptics say is a reorganization of society using global uncertainty as a guise to take away rights. Yep, true. Believers argue that measures including pandemic lockdowns and vaccine mandates are a tool to consolidate power and undercut individual sovereignty. That's all true. I don't know how you can possibly deny that that's even the case. And then you have Klaus Schwab coming right out and saying it basically. I don't have the video clip of it, but the pandemic represents a rare but narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset our world. So, this is it. This is exactly what they did. They said, hey, world's shut down. This is our chance. Let's jump on it. We're going to reimagine and reset our world to do exactly what they're saying here, to implement lockdowns and vaccine mandates. It's insane. I mean, this is exactly what happened. I mean, the whole COVID-19 pandemic, what made it so unique is how global on scale it was. I mean, this virtually every country in the world, I mean, except for Sweden, some countries in Africa and stuff. I mean, but man, everyone was doing the same thing. It's crazy. For example, a site known for spreading fabricated stories falsely claimed last month that Schwab publicly encouraged the decriminalization of sex between children and adults, using an invented quote and other baseless statements. Still, it drew tens of thousands of shares on Twitter and Facebook. Now, listen. Yeah, he's probably not coming out and saying that. So there probably are sites making this stuff up, which is so stupid because you don't even have to make stuff up. You can literally take what they say, and that's crazy enough. And by the way, I did some digging trying to find this story just to see where it was coming from, and of course, they don't link to it in this article, but I found another one, and they linked to another article, and then that article referenced a site I never heard of called News Punch, which, I don't know. I kind of browsed it real quick. But yeah, so apparently they have shared other false stories and made up other quotes and stuff, but again, you don't need to make stuff up. Let's just take what they actually say. So, they were talking about decriminalization of sex work between children and adults, but what's half true is that demand for prostitutes spike in Davos as the WEF begins. So, this past week when all these conferences took off, there was a huge spike for prostitutes, and they were charging a ton of money. So, I don't know. That claim is half true, Basically, I'm sure they want to decriminalize it, which, again, I have a libertarian take on this, and I think that should be decriminalized. It doesn't mean it's morally right. But anyways, that's for another conversation. Meanwhile, the popular claim that the forum wants people to replace meat with bugs is a distorted reference to an article once published on the organization's website. No, it's not. I just showed you a video they put out for it. And you have Bill Gates running around, saying that rich countries should 100% go to it. In another instance, a widely shared post claimed without evidence that the forum had appointed Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House before the actual vote had taken place. Well, I don't know. Let's check. Who's the Speaker of the House? Oh, it's Kevin McCarthy. So I don't know. That conspiracy theory doesn't seem too far off. And keep in mind, Citigroup told Obama what his cabinet was going to be, and guess what his cabinet was? Everyone on that list. And we know that from WikiLeaks. So I don't know. That's not too hard to believe. Alright, that's almost enough for me tonight. I do want to play a couple clips of this guy who, his name is Yuval Noah Harari, and I think I'm going to do a separate video with kind of more focusing on this guy, but man, this guy says some wild stuff. And I have a few clips. I don't know if I want to play it all, but let's at least listen to this one.
Now, you may find it possible to accept that in the religious field, cooperation is based on fiction. That a lot of people, a lot of strangers come together to build a cathedral or a synagogue or a mosque or go on crusade together because they all believe the same stories about God and heaven and hell and so forth. But what I want to emphasize is that exactly the same thing happens in all other fields of human cooperation. In the legal field, in the political field, in the economic field as well. Take the legal field as an example. Today in the world, many, maybe most legal systems are based on this idea, this belief in human rights. But human rights are just like heaven and like God. It's just a fictional story that we've invented. And
human rights are just a fictional story that we've invented, like God. Wow.
spread around. It may be a very nice story. It may be a very attractive story. We want to believe it. But it's just a story. It's not a reality. It is not a biological reality. Just as jellyfish and woodpeckers and ostriches have no rights, Homo sapiens have no rights also. Take a human.
He's arguing that human beings have no rights. So he said, take a human, listen to this part.
Cut him open, look inside, you find their blood, and you find the heart and lungs and kidneys, but you don't find there any rights. The only place you find rights is in the fictional stories that humans have invented and spread around. And the same thing is also true in the political field. States and nations are also, like human rights, and like God, and like heaven, they too are just stories. A mountain is a reality. You can see it, you can touch it, you can even smell it. But Israel or the United States, they are just stories, very powerful stories, stories we might want to believe very much, but still they are just stories. You can't really see the United States. You cannot touch it. You cannot smell it.
Is that not the craziest thing? He's basically arguing that human rights is a made-up concept, a story, as he puts it, just like God. And then he says, he actually is like giving a physical example, like you cut open a human body and or whatever, and you see blood and flesh and organs, but you don't see rights. Like, well, you know, you could say the same for your soul, right? Or man, what a sad, meaningless existence this guy, his worldview pretends. Like, you know, and this is where I think I will do a video on this, kind of get my thoughts more kind of written down on paper, but his worldview is a sad, meaningless existence. We're here by accident, you know. Again, it's crazy. And basically, he's making an argument that human beings shouldn't have rights, which would almost lend credence to the conspiracy theory in the article that the elites want to get together. And I think it actually said in the article I was just reading, to take away your rights, the individual sovereignty. Actually, that's exactly what it said. And this guy's making the argument. I mean, this guy, it's crazy. This is like a TED Talk. All right, maybe we'll just well, no, let's do another one. What time is it? It's 8:40. Yeah, I'm going a little long, but let's listen to this one.
We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens, because in the coming generations, we will learn how to
World Economic Forum. I mean, this guy, he's in the mix.
engineer bodies and brains and minds. Now, how exactly will the future masters of the planet look like? This will be
Masters of the planet. I mean, this guy thinks he's part of the elite.
decided by the people who own the data. Now, why is data so important? It's important because we've reached the point when we can hack not just computers, we can hack human beings and other organisms.
So, when I hear that, I immediately think of what Elon Musk is doing with this Neuralink. And, they had these implants or something in monkeys and kind of can control, or I don't exactly know what it's doing. Basically, all of that creeps me out. That's why I don't trust Elon Musk either. I mean, sure, I think what he's doing with Twitter is great and letting them release these Twitter files and all this stuff. But that stuff with the Neuralink and all this transhumanism kind of crap, it's terrible. But, all right, let's keep going here.
Now, what do you need in order to hack a human being? You need two things. You need a lot of computing power.
2018.
And you need a lot of data, especially biometric data. But control of data might enable human elites to do something even more radical than just build digital dictatorships.
What?
By hacking
Digital dictatorships?
organisms, elites may gain the power to re-engineer the future of life itself. Because once you can hack something, you can usually also engineer it. All of life, for 4 billion years, dinosaurs, amoebas, tomatoes, humans, all of life was subject to the laws of natural selection and to the laws of organic biochemistry. But this is now about to change. Science is replacing evolution by natural selection with evolution by intelligent design. Not the intelligent design of some god above the clouds, but our intelligent design and the intelligent design of our clouds, the IBM cloud, the Microsoft cloud. These are the new driving forces of evolution.
We will become gods, This is kind of this is what he's saying. We will be like gods. Our intelligent design.
And at the same time, science may enable life after being confined for 4 billion years to the limited realm of organic compounds. Science may enable life to break out into the inorganic realm.
This guy is crazy. I mean, that's exactly what this is, this transhumanism stuff. All right. Yeah, you know what? Now that I'm in the mood, I'm going to keep going. I think I got 2 more. So this is also in the... Yeah, so by his own beliefs, I can go do anything to him because he has no rights. I mean, yeah, that's the logical conclusion of what he's saying. I mean, I guess you could still be subject to the government or whatever because they're the ones enforcing the rights, but he's just doing a concept. But yeah, I guess in his worldview, humans don't have rights. It's crazy. All right, so I'm going to play another one. This is part of the World Economic Forum. You see it right here, annual meeting from 2020.
Alongside inequality, the other major danger we face is the rise of digital dictatorships that will monitor everyone all the time. This danger can be...
First off, this is already happening. Maybe not to the extent that he wishes it would. And he's trying to warn against it, but please, this is this guy's wet dream.
Stated in the form of a simple equation, which I think might be the defining equation of life in the 21st century. B times C times D equals R, which means biological knowledge multiplied by computing power multiplied by data equals the ability to hack humans. R.
No, it's more like, ah! I cracked myself up. I don't know if he did that intentionally or what, but yeah, no, it's like Home Alone, like, ah! This is a nightmare situation right here. Biological knowledge times computing power times data is the ability to hack humans. I mean, this is the language he's using. Just, I mean, you know, this guy wishes for nothing more than for you and I to be compliant, meaningless people running around. I mean, it's... Let me finish this.
If you know enough biology and you have enough computing power and data, you can hack my body and my brain and my life, and you can understand me better than I understand myself.
Wow. This guy actually believes this? This stuff's scary, man. I mean, all this kind of stuff. Alright. Alright, I do have one more. This is the last one.
Finally,
so this is the same meeting.
Technology might disrupt not just our economy and politics and philosophy, but also our biology. In the coming decades, AI and biotechnology will give us godlike abilities to re-engineer life and even to create completely new life forms.
What? This guy is actually trying to become a god and create new life forms. What the heck is he talking about? I mean, do you hear this?
After 4 billion years of organic life shaped by natural selection, we are about to enter a new era of inorganic life shaped by intelligent design. Our intelligent design is going to be the new driving force of the evolution of life. And in using our new divine powers of creation, we might make mistakes.
Do you hear this guy's language? Divine powers of creation. It's
a cosmic scale. In particular, governments, corporations, and armies are likely to use technology to enhance human skills that they need, like intelligence and discipline, while neglecting other human skills, like compassion, artistic sensitivity, and spirituality. The result might be a race of humans who are very intelligent and very disciplined, but lack compassion, lack artistic sensitivity, and lack spiritual depth.
Well, that's already happening. I mean, I venture to say there's a lot of folks in power who lack empathy, lack spiritual depth, you know, so, I mean, that is already happening to an extent, but the language he's using about we will be like gods and our intelligent design, you know what I mean, is just freaky as all get out. And again, you know, it's hard to, I read a Q&A, and this might be part of the video I put out, but I read a Q&A or an interview this guy had done, and just try to understand where he's coming from a little bit. And some of it is kind of revealing, I mean, but this guy's Israeli and grew up in Israel and stuff, and, you know, presumably he knows all about religion and kind of what those people believe, but he certainly does not believe in any sort of creator, or you know, he wants to be the creator, you know, or at least thinks mankind will. It's crazy. And again, his worldview is dangerous, depressing, and without hope. I mean, really. So I'm going to leave with this verse. I want to leave with hope. You know, these guys aren't going to win, right? And even if they win politically, they're not going to win at the end, spiritually. Romans 15:13, may the God of hope, our God is a God of hope, fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. So listen, you know, this is an encouraging and optimistic worldview, right? It's not going to mean life is always easy if you're a believer and stuff. No, there will be challenges and stuff, but I have a peace that surpasses understanding. I don't even understand why I have that peace, but I do. And it's, you know, through the Holy Spirit. Overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. You know, that's my prayer, right? We're not going to let these psychopaths win. Anyways, maybe I'll write an article about that. I think I will do a video on this too, breaking down other clips. I mean, there's one clip I didn't put in here, but this Harari guy actually was saying that what are we going to do with the useless human beings? And he's basically like, my guess is a combination of video games and drugs. I mean, this is how he talks about regular everyday people. Like they're just nothing. They're ants, right? Oh my gosh. So evil. So evil. Anyways, if you happen to watch this far, give it a like. I hope you enjoyed it. Give me a follow. I will probably post a video on this. I've just been so busy. Anyways, hope you guys have a great week, and I will be here next Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, and take care. Bye.